Hey everyone, it's Jordan from Fish Keeping Made Easy, and today I'm going to show you exactly how much waste my fish actually produce. So currently in my 250 litre I have this Geophagus brasiliensis, and I also have this fire eel that you can see in the corner, and then with them there's just a few cories here and there, and there's also some Amazon puffers, but they're kind of hiding in the background a little bit because the lights have just come on. Now, one issue I have with this tank is obviously the Geophagus has quite an appetite, and so does the fire eel. And the worms that they have come in this sort of soil, and even if you do kind of wash them off, you still find this soil sort of piling up on the ground. And to be fair, it doesn't actually cause that much of an issue. I thought it would actually, maybe cause nitrates to increase or something like that, but really it doesn't. So I need to suck all this out, and I also need to basically clean the filter and do a full water change. So basically that's what I'm going to do today, and I'm going to show you exactly how much waste is actually created by these two giant fish themselves, because the other fish have quite a low bio load and are actually quite good at eating, whereas the Geophagus and the fire eel are just spitting stuff everywhere. So under here we have all the worms that the Geophagus and the fire eel actually eat. So this is they kind of come in a soil, and you have to sort of rinse them off in order to get them in there, but you still get soil in there. But anyway, the filter I actually use is the JBL CristalProfi green line. I think it's like the 1080 or something like that, I can't remember, but it's on the box. This filter has been pretty much no issues whatsoever. It doesn't seem to slow the flow at all. It never seems to get blocked. It's really quiet, as you can hear. So with the door shut, you don't hear anything. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this filter to anyone who's looking for a filter. So I've brought the filter outside along with a bucket of water. This way I can sort of just clean the sponges out. Always make sure that you are cleaning your sort of sponges and filter socks and anything you've got in your filter in the actual tank water, because obviously you don't want to put it in your own water from your tap, which has probably got a lot of chlorine and other hard metals in it, and it will kill some of the good bacteria. Right, so let's open the filter. Doing this with one hand, so I'm not 100% sure how well this is going to work. Well, first of all, look at all that just debris from plants and from the soil and basically just anything that's in it. I'll take it out. Right, so look at this. This is 6 months of not cleaning this filter out, which is pretty crazy. And like I said, there was no change to the flow within the filter, which just kind of goes to show how good these filters actually are. So I'll take this first layer and just wash it in here. And this is all the big stuff, so it looks worse than it actually is. It's just bits of plant and anything else that kind of gets into the filter. This is the first bit of the filter that happens, so it gets all the big stuff out, so it doesn't clog up the filter. Wash the tray a little bit. On to the next bit, which is going to be exactly the same. They do have little, there we go, they've got little handles. Again, this doesn't look that bad. It doesn't smell or anything like that. But yeah, try to do it one-handed. It's not the best. Look at the water already. So, 2 is clean, or as clean as it will kind of be. There we go. See, I knew there were some sort of handles on them. Again, this is a sort of coarse sponge, so it catches a lot of big things but also can let loads of water through. It's the same with that. Cleans more or less pretty easily. I guess people are going to ask how often you change your sponges. I change my fine sponges every kind of so often if they get too blocked. This has just got some carbon and stuff in it. The carbon probably needs replaced, to be honest, and a few wee coarse bits there. And then this is just the beads at the bottom, which I'll just give a little rinse out, and then see what's left at the bottom. Ugh, just the actual water that I'm going to pour out. I'll show you what's left. Again, doesn't look too bad. As you see, it's steaming there because it's so cold outside. And these, I've just put the water in with some plants because there's a lot of nitrates and stuff in these, so it'll be pretty good. And then basically I just need to wash the filter out with some other tank water, which I'll get, and put the filter back together. So whilst I've got it out, I guess I can sort of explain my filters and how I set them up. So basically I have a coarse sponge first, which is the one that came out, followed by a kind of more fine sponge, which is this one here. Sometimes I will use sort of white filter wool, but I haven't really been using them at the moment. Next I have some sort of carbon or something in there, depending on what it is. I'll probably change it, and then I just have my bacteria balls here. So these just are a place for beneficial bacteria to grow and to thrive, but obviously it will grow on more or less any surface, any coarse surface in your fish tank. So there'll be a lot of stuff in here, so don't want these to dry up or anything like that. So I'm going to put the filter back together. So basically what I realised is I didn't really cover some of the stuff that's in the filter. So obviously this is the beads that the beneficial bacteria grows on. There is the coarse sponge here and some carbon. So carbon helps to take sort of chemicals out of the water, so it's really quite good for that. This is just a coarse sponge here, which helps to stop bigger things getting into the sort of filter and blocking the filter up, really. And this is more of a fine sponge. It's not filter wool or anything like that, but these kind of things help to just take the smaller particles out of the water, which in turn make your water a lot clearer. So I have the filter all plugged back in. As you can hear, well, it's stopped now, but the filter was kind of filling itself up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take maybe like 20-30 litres out of the tank, because you don't want to do a massive water change and also clean the filter out, because you're going to significantly reduce beneficial bacteria, water conditions, you know, just loads of different things. You don't want to muck about with it too much. So next week I'll probably do quite a large water change, but this week I'm going to do the filter change and of course a little bit of a water change. So I'll get back after this. So I'm going to take this time just to go over the basics of doing water changes. So water changes are actually really easy, and I think people overcomplicate them a little bit, but basically all you're doing is taking water out of the tank and putting water back in again. So what you want to do is get some kind of hose or some kind of siphon that can take the water out of the tank. And what you want to do is you want to remove anything between 10, 15, 20%, depending on how much water you want to take out. I wouldn't do anything more than 50%. I would only do 50% in some sort of emergency. This tank is quite tall, so it's a little bit more difficult to do, but what you want to do is you want to siphon some of the debris off the bottom, so you'll have things like leftover food, decaying plants, things like that. These kind of things eventually start to build up and cause nitrates to increase, but you can take them out during a water change. It's as simple as that. When you've got sand, these things tend to sit on the top, so it's a little bit easier just to sort of siphon them up. But if you have gravel or something like that, you might want to get an actual siphon where you can sort of lift up the rocks and the bits of gravel and get in between them. Once you've taken as much water as you want out of your tank, you need to add it back in, and this water comes from your tap water. Of course, you want to add a water conditioner like one you can see here, because tap water does contain hard metals, chloramine, chlorine, so you definitely need to take these out before you put it into your aquarium. Personally, I just add my water conditioner once I've added all the water in. Some people like to add it before, and some people like to add it into the buckets or into the watering cans that they're adding into the aquarium at the time. Another kind of myth slash kind of misinformation is that you have to have the water the same temperature when you're putting it in, which is not true at all. It might be with fish that are a little bit more sensitive, but with the fish I have, the tank's sitting about 25, 26 degrees, and the water that I'm getting from the tap is pretty cold. Obviously, if you're adding all the water in at one time, then that might be a little bit different, but I'm adding it every sort of 2 or 3 minutes, so there's a little bit of time between it. But if you're maybe using a hose straight into the tank, then you might just want to slowly add the water in. So other than that, there's not really much to water changes. I guess one step that I missed out was maybe turning everything off. Sometimes heaters can malfunction if the temperatures are sort of a little bit all over the place, or if you take so much water out that the heater ends up being exposed into the air. So maybe turning off everything before you start your water change is also a good idea. I think people are always a little bit nervous for their first couple of water changes, but once you've done a few, you'll start to realise that they're really easy and very straightforward. Again, there's sort of varying information on how often you should do a water change. Some people say a week, some people say 14 days. I would just say, to begin with, probably every week, every 10 days is probably best. But after a while, you'll probably realise how often your fish tank actually needs a water change. It's all down to different factors. So if you keep less fish, you don't feed too heavy, then you should be okay doing water changes every couple of weeks, maybe every month or so. But if you've obviously got bigger fish that are eating meatier foods and are quite messy and all this kind of stuff, it's probably best just to stick to a week to 10 days doing a water change. So as always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about filters or water changes, feel free to comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like this video, and I will see you in the next one.